Hi guys, it's me, ChazzaHD, and welcome to this stream tonight where we're going to be reviewing more in depth the key moments of yesterday's 2022 Canadian Grand Prix, and also getting into Max Verstappen and the championship fight. Obviously took a vital victory in the Grand Prix yesterday. So yeah, we're going to be getting into that. We're going to be getting into obviously the main title, being that, I think Verstappen is heading for his second world championship. By the way, I am going to, in a moment, just get rid of this bottom ticker because I've noticed the information on it is incorrect. So I will change that up in a moment. But, that's what we're going to get into as the main topic. And I'm going to get into my reasons why I think Max is going to be uncatchable now in the championship. Reasons that, have to do with Red Bull, but also Ferrari as well. And also, we'll be getting into tonight Charles Leclerc and his fight through the field and how he, despite being held up quite a bit during the race, especially in the first 45 laps, 50 laps, Leclerc's pace, despite that, was incredible. And if he was able to fight for victory this weekend that's just gone, he probably would have won yesterday, as I'll get onto later. And also, I'll get into just how Fernando Alonso's Grand Prix fell apart. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. I'll probably just get the sidebar back up and just redo the order to put it in the correct way. I'll just quickly do that for you guys. But yeah, hopefully you guys are doing well. And no matter what time it is in your part of the world, hopefully you're having the best day possible. And to make sure, as the stream goes on, to be posting in chat your comments as in regards to what I am talking about. And by the way, the reason I haven't got absolutely everything for the stream ready this evening, or as ready as I normally have it, is because I have been in a bit of a rush to get everything ready. So that's why it's a bit messy to start with. I'll just quickly show this so I can just quickly get it all ready. And then before we get into discussing Verstappen, we'll go into what the final finishing order was in Canada. Yeah, it's been a mad rush, really, in the last hour to get this stream on the road. So let me just get this all correct. And I'll quickly just read out what the top 10 was for the Grand Prix yesterday. So obviously Max Verstappen won his first Canadian Grand Prix, and it was Red Bull's first win in Canada for 8 years. The last win before yesterday was 2014 in Canada. And yeah, great win, and great for them to win again in Canada. Obviously, Carlos Sainz finished in second. He was tantalizingly close to the victory on that penultimate lap especially. He was very close to getting Verstappen, but locked up going into the hairpin, and that cost him about 2 or 3 tenths of a second. And that was his final chance blown for Gasly, not for Gasly, for Carlos Sainz. I'm just trying to complete the rest of the order. Hamilton finished third. Obviously, great to see him on the podium again. His first podium, Lewis Hamilton, since Bahrain. Only 2 podiums this season, which is a massive surprise that it has been that much of a barren run for Lewis when it comes to his results this season. And there you go. So that's all correct now. So yeah, Lewis Hamilton finished in third. Russell finished in fourth. Charles Leclerc, despite showing great pace in traffic, came through to finish in 5th place. Esteban Ocon finished in 6th. And then because of Fernando Alonso getting a penalty for what you call it, for the for weaving too much down the straight on the final lap, Fernando ends up finishing 9th instead of 7th, where obviously he finished on track. So what that means is Valtteri Bottas finishes 7th, and then it is Zhou Guanyu in 8th place, and Fernando Alonso 9th, Lance Stroll 10th. Obviously, all those tyres you can see on the left or the right-hand side of the running order is obviously what tyres they were on at the end of the race. Lance Stroll finishing 10th, then it was Ricciardo 11th, Vettel 12th, Albon 13th, Gasly 14th, Norris 15th, Latifi 16th, Magnussen 17th, and then your retirements were Yuki Tsunoda, Mick Schumacher, and Sergio Perez. A shame for Schumacher and Perez, because I think they probably would have got a good result considering the pace of their cars in Canada. For Tsunoda as well, a shame the mistake he made on the exit of the pit lane, because he was having a pretty good race up until that mistake. But yeah, what we're going to do is get into these race results in... we're now going to get into, the main topics. Well, obviously, we've covered the race results now, and we'll get into the first topic in just a moment. I don't know if I've already said, though, before I get into it, that if I do miss any comments in the live chat, then make sure to post them in the comment section of this stream instead, and then probably at the next Grand Prix, I will respond to them on stream like I did to some comments last night for the race watch along. So yeah, if I do miss your comment, don't worry, I will get to it at a later date, and I will get to it on stream. But I'm just going to quickly adjust these pictures quick for because obviously I need to adjust them so they are looking better for the strings. Obviously I can't show the bottom ticker, unfortunately, because I have the wrong information displayed. So yeah, sorry about this, guys, but again, I was in a mad rush to get this stream ready. So yeah, I've not been able to quite do this yet. So let me just quickly get all this done. And right, there you go. I'll re-show that now. So yeah, now we are all ready. As also, I was trying to get some information for the stream tonight. That's a big reason why I was late setting this stream up. I think now we can start to get into the main topic of this stream. Just to let you guys know, this will be recorded and will be uploaded tomorrow as a stream clip. So if you do want to watch it again, or if you missed parts of it, then I will upload it tomorrow so it can be rewatched again. And obviously it's easier for people who can't catch the streams, me uploading this part of the stream. So I'll just get rid of that and now move on to this. And yeah, we'll get going in just a moment. And yeah, we'll start with the topic of Max Verstappen and how he is, I think, uncatchable in the championship. So yeah, let's get going. So guys, obviously Max Verstappen won yesterday's Canadian Grand Prix. A fantastic drive, was pushed very hard by Ferrari and Carlos Sainz, who were pretty quick in the Grand Prix in Canada. But now that Red Bull have won 6 races in a row and Max has won 5 of the last 6 and is in such great form, and Ferrari have dipped massively in their form in the last few races, and now the championship lead has grown to the nearest Ferrari driver being Charles Leclerc of 49 points, I believe Max Verstappen is uncatchable in the Drivers' Championship. And not just Verstappen, but Red Bull also in the Constructors' standings as well. And what I'm going to do here is get into exactly why I believe that is the case. But before we get into, say, the last, few races, let's start, obviously, with the start of the season, where Red Bull, despite obviously, winning in Saudi Arabia, it was a fantastic victory, and having a couple of retirements due to fuel line problems, I believe, for the Red Bulls. in terms of the pace of their car, it was not a great start to the season. And the main reason they were lacking a lot of pace at the time, especially compared to now, where they are much quicker than they were in those first 3 Grand Prix, especially at the Australian Grand Prix, where obviously Ferrari took their last victory in the season so far. Red Bull, the reason they were so much slower was because their car was just simply too heavy. And it was a big problem for them in the first couple of months of the season. Obviously, the minimum weight was, I think, raised from 758 to 798 kilograms. But despite that, Red Bull were still struggling a lot with cutting the weight off their car. And it was a big reason why Ferrari were just so quick, or so much quicker than Red Bull in the first 3 Grand Prix of the season. And as we go to this, you'll see that, and this article came out, I think, just before the Australian Grand Prix, and it, really gets into, it's from Autosport, it gets into how the Red Bull at the time was just weighing too much to really be properly competitive with Ferrari like it is now. So as you can see, it says F1's new technical regulations for 2022 resulted in a weight increase from 752 kilograms actually to 795. The teams, and not just Red Bull, but a lot of the teams have been struggling to meet the minimum weight. And later on in the article, it goes to Helmut Marko, who at the time, this was early April that this article came out, acknowledged that the RB18 car was running overweight and that it had to focus on reducing this figure to remain competitive at the front, given that Ferrari weighed, I think it was at least 10 kilograms, probably 10 kilograms less than the Red Bull, and it really, was a massive advantage for them. And he went on to say it's much more difficult to get the weight off because of the cost cap. You have to calculate more precisely where technical progress, where weight reduction and reliability can be found, i.e. these 3 components, and then you have to find the right compromise. But one thing is clear, you certainly won't be able to drive at the front of the field this season if you are overweight. And I think around the time, there are estimations that Red Bull and also Mercedes were as much as 15 kilograms overweight. It's a big reason as well why Mercedes was so slow at the time. Not just Red Bull compared to where they are now. Obviously, Mercedes, still not great, but Red Bull a lot quicker. But obviously, since then, improvements have been made. And by the Spanish Grand Prix, Red Bull pretty much got on par with Ferrari in terms of the weight of the car. As Helmut Marko would say, that their weight loss target is finally set to be achieved, and it was achieved at the Spanish Grand Prix. As he went on to say, there we start with new parts with which we can finally reach our optimum weight. So far, we were relatively well above the required minimum weight of 798 kilograms. Ferrari and us are on par now. The difference in the future will be who gets the best out of the package on the respective racetrack. And then he goes on to say that he looks forward to the battle. So it did take, 2 or 3 races to get that Red Bull and its weight down. I think they took, I know on Verstappen's car, they took at least, I think it was 6 or 7 kilograms off at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. And then I think they shed another, I think either at the Miami Grand Prix or Spanish Grand Prix, another 3 to 5 kilograms. I don't know the exact numbers, but I do know that, that is what the estimates are in terms of the weight reduction that's happened at Red Bull. If that weight reduction did not happen and they were still suffering with this problem, they would not be in the position they are in now. What it means is, no matter what track they go to, Red Bull, even if Ferrari are quicker, they'll still be competitive with Ferrari, as opposed to what we saw at the Australian Grand Prix, which is where Ferrari were miles ahead. I think they were like half a second quicker in the race with Charles Leclerc compared to Verstappen and Perez, and which was way too off the pace for Red Bull at the time. But also, a big reason why, once that weight reduction was made, a big reason why Red Bull have been able to be so quick in the last few races is their top speed. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find any articles / analysis on just why is the Red Bull so quick in a straight line, because it's not actually to do with the power unit. The Ferrari power unit is actually estimated to be better in terms of outright power, but the Red Bull is designed in such a way that it has incredible low drag, but still maintaining very good levels of downforce. But as you can see here at the maximum speeds in Miami, Red Bull, and at this point, they've cut a lot of weight off their car. Red Bull incredibly quick down the straights, and the advantage they had and still have over Ferrari in this aspect is definitely a massive one to have in a championship fight. In the main speed trap, for example, the two Red Bulls were pretty much 10 kilometers an hour faster down the straights than Ferrari were. In F1, that is a massive difference, especially between two teams who are very competitive to one another. And also, here is one from Baku. Not as quick in Baku with the speed traps. I think that's because Red Bull run their car in Baku with a bit more downforce than maybe they did in Miami. But still, with the finish line speed trap, you can see the Red Bulls about, say, 5 to 6 kilometers an hour faster. And this is despite Ferrari running a low downforce rear wing. So if Ferrari had not run that, low downforce rear wing, it probably would have been another 10 kilometer an hour difference. That has been massive for Red Bull in the races really since Miami, where it's really made such a difference for them in 2022. And obviously, after the first few races, with the weight being cut off and also the straight line speed they had and the good, solid aerodynamic package they had, they begun to see some success. As at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, Max Verstappen took a very important sprint race win and Grand Prix win, with Leclerc finishing down in 6th in the Grand Prix. And then in Miami, despite Ferrari locking out the front row, Verstappen used that straight line speed advantage very well to pass Sainz on the first lap and Leclerc a few laps into the Grand Prix. It was a fantastic bounce back from Verstappen. And then obviously, after those two Grand Prix, Ferrari cracked under the pressure of the championship fight. Obviously in Monaco, they cost themselves victory with a very poor strategy, but also in the Spanish and Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Leclerc's engine failed him, and that was obviously a massive advantage now given to Red Bull in terms of the championship. I'm not going to pretend, by the way, that Red Bull are leading by, or Max Verstappen is leading by 49 points over Leclerc, purely because the Red Bull is quicker and Verstappen is better. I'm not going to pretend that's the case. Leclerc has had quite a bit of bad luck, and Ferrari definitely in the last 2 or 3 weeks, or last month really, have really just crumbled in this title fight, and that has definitely benefited Max Verstappen quite a bit. But quickly, before we get on to Ferrari, the role they are really, or more so into the role they've really played in Verstappen now being, for me, uncatchable in the championship, let's quickly get on to some stats regarding Max Verstappen, showing how impressive he's been and how, given his current form, it's going to be very hard for anyone, literally anyone, to stop him. He's had 6 wins in 2022, and he's won 5 of the last 6 races. He is dominating Formula 1 right now. This is also Red Bull's longest winning streak since 2013. Obviously, we remember that, Sebastian Vettel winning streak from the end of 2013 that was incredible. And yeah, he is not far away, Verstappen and Red Bull, from getting to those types of numbers. And Max Verstappen, in the 9 races so far, has won 66% of the races so far in 2022. That is an amazing number, considering how on pace the Red Bull and Ferrari are so close to each other. It's not as though Red Bull are almost a second a lap quicker at pretty much every track. So amazing Verstappen has been this season. And remember, 2 races this season, he obviously DNF'd. So yeah, a very, very impressive season. And in the form Verstappen's in, he is going to be very hard to stop, I think, going forward now for the rest of the season. But obviously, Ferrari, like I said, they have played a role in the championship gap becoming so big. And yeah, with those reliability problems that they've had in the last month or so, it now forces Ferrari into a very, very difficult position. Because now they are going to be forced, not just with Charles Leclerc, but also Carlos Sainz at probably a race or two remaining in the season to take engine penalties for using too many parts. And we'll get on to now the power unit elements, because it is not looking great for Ferrari on this aspect. By the way, credit to F1fansite.com for this little table. So you can see these are the used power unit elements for absolutely everyone. The ones that are highlighted in the numbers, I think, are the people that are either on the limit or they have exceeded. So you can see Charles Leclerc there, who is 5th down the list. He is on 4 ICEs, or his 4th ICE, 4th turbocharger, 4th MGU-H and MGU-K, and now 2nd control electronics. And the reason he got a penalty in Canada is because he took on a completely new power unit, meaning a new ICE turbocharger, MGU-H, MGU-K, and you're not supposed to use more than 3 of the ICE, TC, MGU-H, MGU-K in a season. So now that he's exceeded it already by race 9, and we still have, I think, 13 or 12 races to go, something like that, that means that Leclerc is probably going to have to take probably 2 more grid penalties this season from using new parts. At least, maybe 3, maybe even 4, if Ferrari cannot sort out their reliability. And you can see for Carlos Sainz, Carlos is now on his final ICE, so he'll have to take a penalty probably at some Grand Prix down the line, maybe just after the summer break. So in terms of power unit elements that have been used so far, Ferrari are in a very bad position, because even if they have a better car than Red Bull for the majority of the races between now and the end of the season, Leclerc's going to have to sacrifice probably 3 of those races to Red Bull and Verstappen, because he'll have to start at best 10th or 11th on the grid. So yeah, that's a big reason why I think Ferrari are out of the championship fight. And when you look at Verstappen, I mean, despite the 2 reliability problems, which actually weren't to do with the power unit, and by the way, Sergio Perez's retirement in the Canadian Grand Prix wasn't actually to do with the power unit. It was actually a gearbox problem. Both Red Bulls are on target to not get any penalties this season with the parts they've used so far, but Ferrari are, well, with Leclerc, twice as bad. So even if Ferrari have a very quick car, like I said, for the rest of the season, they'll have to sacrifice 2 or 3 races at least going forward. And given that Red Bull are so quick right now, I just do not see how, with, this power unit situation as it is in terms of the used parts, the much improved pace of the Red Bull, and the way Ferrari are as a team, blowing a 46-point lead after Australia, and now it's completely reversed into almost the exact same position for Verstappen now. I just do not see how Ferrari can possibly overturn that in the championship. And we'll go to now the championship standings. Max Verstappen leading on 175 points. Sergio Perez is second on 129. Leclerc not even second even in the championship. And yeah, he is 49 points behind. For me, because Ferrari, I don't think can go on a long enough run of, victories to really force themselves back into the title fight, and because they'll have to take some more grid penalties this season, for me, the championship race is over. It is dead and buried. Verstappen is going to be, for me, world champion this year and win his 2nd F1 championship. And also, in the constructor standings, Red Bull are, I think, 80-odd points clear. Or nearly 80-odd points clear in that. And I think Red Bull will definitely win the Constructors' Championship as well. And it would be, if they did win it, their first Constructors' title in 9 years. Very long time for them to wait for a Constructors' title, considering, obviously, they had 4 in a row in the early 2010s decade. But looking back again at these championship standings, I just don't see how, now going into the 10th race of the season and almost at the halfway point, how you could possibly give Ferrari and Leclerc a chance. I mean, if it was Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, I would give them a chance because it's Mercedes, who are a much better team operationally, and Lewis Hamilton obviously is a better driver. But because Leclerc, first title fight, and I don't think he is quite at the absolute peak of his powers yet, and also Ferrari are an absolute mess, I just do not see how they close that gap to Verstappen. And, I mean, Leclerc hasn't even finished on the podium since Miami. That was, 6 weeks, 7 weeks ago? A very long time ago, that Grand Prix. So they should first focus on getting him on the podium rather than trying to win loads of races in a row and try and fight their way back into the championship, because they can't even get him on to the podium. But yeah, Ferrari are an absolute mess, and I just don't see how they're going to force their way back into the championship fight. So for me, this man on screen is heading for his second consecutive Drivers' Championship. But guys, let me know in the comments section if you disagree with me, which I expect some people will. Let me know if you think Leclerc still has a chance. Let me know the scenario in which Leclerc still gets, back into the championship fight. And if you still think Leclerc will win the championship, again, let me know the scenario in how he does so, because I'll be very interested to see what people say in regards to that. Because I don't want people to just say, it's not over yet, and then, not say how they think, Ferrari and Leclerc could get back into things. But yeah, 6 wins in a row for Red Bull, such an impressive streak. And Verstappen, you have to say, he is now reaching the peak of his powers and dominating Formula 1 in 2022. And going into the next Grand Prix at Silverstone, I think it'll be very hard to stop. And I think we'll win, definitely, quite a few more races in 2022. So there you go, guys. That is the main topic. And yeah, like I said, I think Verstappen is uncatchable now in the Drivers' Championship. But let me know, guys, in the live chat right now, what you think of what I've just said. And yeah, like I said, what do you call it? If you think Leclerc can win the championship still, let me know the scenario and how he does so. Because I am, like I said, very interested to see what you guys think in regards to that. But, yeah, I'll come to the chat in a moment. Just want to say, for anyone new watching, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, because I do obviously post-race content reviewing some of the key moments from the Grand Prix that obviously come about this season. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. For everyone watching, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. And as well, don't forget to hit me with a follow on Twitter. Right, let me read some of the comments in the chat. Skyman, I think these first 2 comments I'm going to read out came before the stream actually started. Skyman says the title is a bit early. Not that long ago, Verstappen was 46 points behind, and everyone was saying Leclerc's a new champion. Well, I don't think people were quite saying that, because it was only the 3rd race of the season. But again, people keep saying this, but they always say it without context. The whole, but Verstappen was 46 points behind. Yeah, that's true, but it's Ferrari. That's the difference. If Lewis Hamilton was 49 points behind right now and had a car as good as what Ferrari had, I would not be saying it's over. I would say it's nearly over, almost over, but I would not be saying it's over. But because it's Ferrari, I think it's over. DJ Burp says, thanks for all you do, Chaz. Got a cut and run tonight. Have a great stream. Thank you very much for that. And by the way, hello to everyone who is posting your comments in the chat. Jan Sargent said Ferrari had the slightly faster car in Canada. Yeah, well, I'll get into Leclerc's race in a moment, and you'll see that, yeah, they had pretty good race pace. Did Ferrari in Canada. Max is going to dominate like Lewis with these regs, says Dolbear, I think it is. I don't think he'll win every championship between now and the next set of regs in 2026. I think there will be another winner, not just Max the whole way through. But I think by the time we get to 2026, I think Max will probably have. I mean, he's going to win this year, and then he'll probably win a couple more championships after that, probably. Yeah, I'd say, yeah, definitely by 2026, I think he'll probably be a 4-time world champion by then. And then, yeah, for 2026, it is looking likely that Porsche will become Red Bull's engine supplier. Jan Sargent asks, who do you think will have the fastest car at Silverstone? I think Ferrari will be quick, but I think if you look at the track overall, I just don't think there's enough of that track that suits a Ferrari car enough to, to allow them to be, say, the quicker team. It's too quick. It's too high speed, I think, for the Ferrari team. I think the first sector and the final sector, Ferrari will be very competitive, and it will be close between Ferrari and Red Bull, but I think that middle sector, I think Red Bull are going to be pretty quick in that sector, probably a quarter of a second quicker than the Ferraris will be. But if Ferrari are going to, say, get pole position at Silverstone, what they need to do is they need really to be, say, a tenth of a second quicker in the first sector and the final sector, where, those parts of the track, they'll be stronger than, say, the middle sector. So I think overall, I'd say Red Bull, but I think in qualifying, it will be very close. It's not going to be like a clear pole position or anything like that. Lab Gorilla says, you're definitely correct, Shazza. The reason we don't have a championship fight is because Ferrari are involved. Had it been Mercedes, this could have been interesting. Well, I actually thought this last night, in terms of the championship, and I thought, who would I rather in a championship fight, Red Bull and Ferrari or Red Bull and Mercedes? And in my mind, it was easily Red Bull and Mercedes, not just because Mercedes are a better team and they're a much more competent team than Ferrari are, but also, Mercedes have better drivers than Ferrari do. And if Mercedes were in Ferrari's place right now, then it would be really close at the moment in the championship and would be heading probably for another grandstand finish at the end of the season. But because it's Ferrari, no. I mean, we saw this in 2017 and 2018 that Ferrari, despite having a very good car, let Mercedes off the hook big time and ended up losing those championships like 3/4 of the way into the season. Henry Mole says, Max always said, give me a good car and I'll be world champion. Now 49 points and in such good form. Indeed. Donto? Or is it don't do it? Yes, don't do it in the chat. I thought it said don't or don't do. I don't even know why I said it like that. It says Leclerc can still win. I find it funny that at race 3, people said the championship was over. Again, I don't, unless you can point to examples, I don't remember that being the case. Then some races later say that the same thing. There are a lot of races left, 1 or 2 DNFs and Leclerc is back. I want to say this, and this is not a personal attack or anything against you or people that say this, but it's such a, not weaselly, I won't say a weaselly answer, but it's such a, what's the way of saying it? It's just not, the people that keep saying, well, there's still lots of races left, and, you know, and then comparing it to Leclerc having a 46-point lead earlier this season and saying things can change. But they don't, again, it's not looking at how things have happened in context and also looking at who's involved. It does frustrate me. But again, it's not a personal attack against anyone that says that. If you say that, then that's fine. I'm not going to, hate you or anything. But I just don't like the argument that, lots of races left, things could happen. That's not really a reason, is it? Max, I think, will need to take one new engine, same with the two Mercs. Well, if I bring that graphic up again, as long as he doesn't have power unit problems between now and, say, the end of the season, then I don't see how Max would have to take a penalty, because the amount of parts he's on is pretty much what he should be on at this point. Yeah, I don't see how that's the case. By the way, I've noticed in this list that for some reason they've got Alex Albon as Christian Albers. I have no idea why they've got that. Oh dear. Yeah, someone should have a word there. But yeah, if you look at the penalty situation, like I said, I think Red Bull will be fine. Dan Sargent, who will have the better car in Austria? A Red Bull, 100%. I have absolutely no doubt about that. Bravo Moss says the only way Ferrari win this is they bring an upgrade so dominant that it makes up for the fact that Ferrari will stuff a few things up. Well, that's the thing I've said. I think I said it coming into the season that the only way I am going to predict Ferrari to win a championship is if they come into a season with a car that is at least half a second quicker than the rest of the field, and that they could end up just dominating races like they did in Melbourne, for example. If they did that on a consistent basis, or they had a car consistently that quick compared to the rest of the field, then I would probably say, yeah, Ferrari are going to win the championship. But because they, this car this year is a very good car, don't get me wrong, but it's not quick enough for me to say, yeah, I think Ferrari can win the championship. Freddie Neal asks, do you think Max could beat Hamilton's records in the future? Yeah, absolutely. Will he beat his records? We'll see. We'll see if he actually does, but he absolutely can. I mean, he's on, 27 wins now at 24 years old? Obviously, Hamilton is now, 36? And he's on his, plus 100 poles, I think, and plus 100 wins. And yeah, so if Max Verstappen is in a race-winning car and championship-winning car, say for the rest of his career, then yeah, I think Max Verstappen, there is a good chance he could end up with the most wins, most poles, most titles even. I mean, the most titles is probably the hardest one to do, because even if you get 5 to 6 wins at the very least per season, doesn't mean you're going to win the championship every time. So, yeah, the titles will be the hardest one to match in terms of Lewis Hamilton and obviously Michael Schumacher. But, yeah, I think Max, definitely talent-wise, and with the results he's had, he definitely has a great chance at that. Say, Regara says, Mercedes developed the car better than Ferrari those 2 years. I don't think it's a coincidence that in that time, Mercedes won 23 races whilst Ferrari had 11. It is true that in those seasons that Ferrari started the year with a better car, Mercedes just completely outdeveloped Ferrari. And if you look at this season as well, even though developments have not been that, we've not had that many developments this season because of the budget cap, Red Bull's improvements they brought to the car, weight reduction, upgrades, certain, bits to the floor and the wings, front wing, rear wing. I mean, look how much they've come on since the start of the season, or even the Australian Grand Prix. I mean, if we raced around that track, the Albert Park circuit now, Red Bull would be at least 3 or 4 tenths of a second quicker than they were that weekend. So, yeah, it's very impressive, how Red Bull have improved their car so much. And Ferrari haven't really improved their car. That's also another reason why I just don't believe in Ferrari to win championships, because if they have a car that's very good and is quick enough to win a title, but is still close to other cars, they'll always get outdeveloped, because they always do. They have since the glory days. So yeah, it's a shame, but that's the way it is. But I think hold on, I'll read out this final comment. Henry Moll says Max is a strange guy. He can easily stay in 2028. He can easily say in 2028 that he wants to stop racing. Not interested in Lewis and Michael's records of 7 world championships. I have seen, though, I think he did an interview with someone, and there was this article about how Max was like, I could stop after a few years and retire in my early 30s, but I don't think he's going to do that, because I think he's a lot more. If you compare him to Lewis Hamilton, Hamilton has a lot more stuff going on outside of Formula One, where Max doesn't have as much in terms of hobbies and stuff like that. So I don't think that's going to happen. And also, if we get to 2028, where Max will be, by the end of that year, be 31. If Max is on 5 or 6 titles, which I think he'll probably be by then, at least 5, I reckon, if Red Bull are this competitive until then, I think he'll continue, because he'll think, what, I can, another 4 or 5 years and I'll be able to break the records. I mean, by 2028, he'll probably have another 30, 40 wins. I mean, he will need, if he's going to beat Lewis Hamilton's records of, or record of race wins, he will need to have 2 or 3 seasons of just pure dominance where he wins, like, I don't know, 11 or 12 races in a single season or something like that. But yeah, I think Verstappen very likely to, join the very best in our sport. Declan says, I think Max will go for race win records rather than championships. G Walker asks, why would Red Bull change to Porsche? The reason is because obviously Audi and Porsche have confirmed to be coming into Formula One in 2026, and I think it's always been rumoured that Red Bull and VW, would be likely to do some sort of deal. And it's always been a rumour, and it is also the main rumour at the minute. I think it was reported by Automotor and Sport, who are like the best publication when it comes to Formula One, that it's likely that Porsche would join up with Red Bull. So yeah, it is looking likely. But I think now we'll move on to the rest of the stream. So let's now get into Charles Leclerc and his Canadian Grand Prix. So obviously started 19th because he took on a completely new power unit and had a pretty hard race. Obviously the safety car at the end did help massively in getting 5th place, and his performance was fantastic. He definitely, I think, deserved driver of the day, and I think I gave him driver of the day in the Grand Prix as well. I think I did for Leclerc. So yeah, great performance by him. And yeah, what we're going to get into now is look at his lap times in the Grand Prix, and really look at his lap times from lap 1 until his first pit stop on lap 42, because I want to compare them to Max Verstappen's times to show that Leclerc was pretty quick in the Grand Prix. So here are the lap times. So from lap 1 to 10, Charles Leclerc obviously on lap 9 and lap 10. The reason he was so slow, 150 and 138, I think that was because of a virtual safety car. But from lap 1 to, say, lap 8, he's lapping in the low 19s and mid 19s, which is not that great when you look at Fernando Alonso here, who was up in 3rd and was doing, I think, low 18s to late 17s. So at this point, Leclerc was about 1.5 seconds off his pace, and about probably 2 seconds off the pace of Max Verstappen. But as we get to after that virtual safety car period, he then starts doing, they low 1 minute 19s. Then a couple laps on lap 16 and 17, they go into the 120s. I think he may have done some overtakes on those laps. Then, these times that keep being, say, around 120, then suddenly on lap 18, he does a 118.7. Then there's about 2 or 3 laps where there was a virtual safety car. And then from lap, and I'll try and scroll down if I can to show more of his lap times. So from lap, and by the way, obviously it's the far right column. So from lap 22 to lap 41, his lap times go from 118s and then into consistently, he does a couple late 1 minute 17s and a very early 1 minute 18, but consistently, say mid 1 minute 18s and even dips into the low 18s a couple times here and there. And still, despite on lap 41 when he pitted, that was 41 lap old hard compound tyres, was doing, 1 minute 18s or mid 1 minute 18s. And that was also behind Esteban Ocon, who obviously was, he was on fresher tyres, Ocon, but obviously the Ferrari is much quicker. Now, if we compare that to Max Verstappen and his lap times, so obviously in the first few laps, say lap 1 to when he pitted on lap 9 under the first virtual safety car, Verstappen was lapping about a second and a half, and at the very least a second quicker than Charles Leclerc. And then from lap 10 until the end of the second virtual safety car was lapping in the mid 1 minute 17s, when Leclerc between lap 10 and 21 was in the 19s and 1 minute 19s and 1 minute 20s. So you can see how much time that Leclerc at this point is losing. But obviously, like I said, from lap 22 really until lap 41 when he pitted, he was consistently, Leclerc, really doing say a 118.0 to a 118.6 per lap, in that, being in that range. When we look at Max Verstappen with his lap times, Verstappen, and remember, Leclerc did those times when he was still stuck in traffic. At this point, Max is on 10 lap younger hard compound tyres, and between lap 22 and lap 43, Max is lapping about a second, maybe not second, but maybe say 8-9 tenths to a second quicker per lap. And we know that in the dirty air, obviously the dirty air, it has improved in terms of the amount of time you lose behind another car. You're not losing as much time now as you would do previously, but you're still losing probably a second. Leclerc definitely was still losing a second to a second and a half. So he's only losing Leclerc a second a lap to Verstappen. And Verstappen, during this time, between lap 22 and lap 41, was in clean air. When Leclerc, if we go back to him, was in quite a bit of traffic. And also, what was it? He, when he was in clean air, lap 24, lap 25, lap 26, before I think he caught the back of Esteban Ocon for a while, was only lapping like 3-4 tenths of a second slower than Verstappen, again, on much older tyres, like 10 lap older tyres, which I know is not, you may not think is much older, but, you're going to be, we should be, with Leclerc, considering he's also in traffic, he really should be way, way off the pace of Verstappen. Not a second a lap. It should be more like, say, 1.5 seconds at the absolute best. So Leclerc's lap times were very, very good. And obviously, later in the Grand Prix, he passed, the 2 Alpines after the virtual safety car. And his best time later in the Grand Prix was a 1:15.9. But considering that Leclerc was in traffic for pretty much 80 to 90% of the Grand Prix, to only be losing for a good chunk of the Grand Prix a second a lap to Verstappen on worse tyres, I think is seriously impressive. That is an incredible performance by Leclerc. And I think if he was fighting at the front, I think Leclerc possibly would have won the race yesterday in Canada. Because, yeah, you should still be losing in traffic and dirty air, you say a second and a half per lap compared to what it should be, around this track. So, yeah, seriously impressive times from Charles Leclerc. And if only his team wasn't so hopeless, maybe Ferrari would be leading the championship. And now finally we'll go to Fernando Alonso, who had a very stressful and tricky race in Canada. So obviously started second. What a performance he had all weekend. Got away in second, just about from Carlos Sainz. Sainz, though, passed him very quickly and got off into the distance, I think a few laps later, from Fernando Alonso. And then Alonso, between, say, lap 10 and lap 20, had some decent pace. But then, one, because of poor strategy, but also because of engine problems, Alonso's race was massively compromised yesterday in Canada. So let's get to his lap times from yesterday. So, yeah, from lap, obviously you can see the virtual safety car there on lap 9 and 10 for Alonso. Alonso is the middle column, by the way. From lap 11 to lap 20, which is when the next virtual safety car came out, Alonso's pace is pretty nice. Mid 1 minute 18s. He did have a mid 1 minute 19 in there, but I think that might have been just a mistake. His pace was pretty good. But then all of a sudden, after the virtual safety car came in, Fernando's pace dropped off a cliff, which I think was probably to do, say, 20-30% with how worn his tyres were at that point. But also, it was confirmed that Alonso suffered an ERS problem on lap 20. And from lap 20 until the end of the race, Alonso lost a second per lap. So, yeah, lap 22 to lap 28, you can see his pace compared to a few laps before has dropped off by at most a second a lap, and at best like 7 or 8 tenths of a second, and he can't really now at this point defend himself, as he was doing late 1 minute 19s, then got into the mid 19s, but then backed off again, and then finally pitted for his first pit stop. I still do think, despite the problem, that they should have pitted him earlier, because they would have saved Fernando probably a few seconds on track and probably a position, and probably he would have finished in 6th ahead of his teammate Ocon rather than finish in 9th place. Obviously got the penalty later for weaving against Valtteri Bottas, and by the way, I've looked back at that incident, and yeah, he definitely deserved the penalty for that, no doubt about that. But yeah, for the rest of the race, once he pitted for the hard tyre, he's now lapping in the say low to mid 1 minute 18s until he pits again on lap 49. That's when the safety car came out. Charles Leclerc, between lap 29, I'll say lap 30 and 48, was lapping even on very worn hard tyres from lap 29 or lap 30 till Leclerc's pit stop on lap 41 on the right here. Leclerc was lapping quicker, or just as quick, as Alonso, despite being on how much older tyres? 28 laps older tyres. So again, it shows you how much time Alonso really lost in the Grand Prix. Obviously, pace improved later on as he went onto the medium compound tyre, but couldn't defend himself against Charles Leclerc, and had trouble, obviously, defending himself against Valtteri Bottas, and got the penalty, like I said, rightfully so, for weaving down the straight going into the final chicane. But if Fernando had not had that ERS problem, I think Alonso would have finished in 3rd place, because even if he pitted still on lap 28, his pace would have been good enough to keep the Mercedes cars behind, and then probably on fresher tyres come back at them, and then even on the fresh mediums with the virtual the full safety car, he probably still would have had enough pace to hold off the two Mercedes and Charles Leclerc as well. So Alonso was cost the podium by, partly strategy, but also massively his engine problems. So, such a shame for Alonso, but he did his best. He really, really did. And by the way, if you're wondering what the problem was, it was an ERS problem with Alonso's car. But yeah, he did the best he could, Fernando, but it wasn't to be, unfortunately. I think we'll go back to these pictures quick, and I'll read out a couple more comments in the chat. Sparky Pete says, can't argue your logic. Max and Red Bull has it. Max first non-human error championship will well earned this year. Well, yeah, that'll be good for Max, obviously, to get that, because then it will resolve that, criticism, obviously, that last year wasn't a fair championship, which, I mean, it wasn't. The way he won it was a really shit way, and he shouldn't have won it in that way, and it wasn't fair. But I think Verstappen did deserve to win last year's championship, because I think he was better than Lewis Hamilton over the course of the season. But yeah, the way he won it was just so not right. As famously Toto Wolff said, obviously, to Michael on that final lap. But yeah, it would be nice for Verstappen to resolve that. Santiago says, we all know the Goat Tiffy was driver of the day. Yeah, I think I looked on Twitter. I think he was actually voted by the fans as driver of the day, but obviously they cancelled it because it was obviously just a meme vote. I think, didn't Mazepin win it last year at some race, and they decided to just ignore it, which was funny. But yeah. Marco says he would have no way to overtake Verstappen. That was not Sainz, but the car was not good enough. I don't think Sainz did the best he could. Like I said, that lock up at the hairpin on the penultimate lap, it cost him a good chance, because he had a very good first half of the lap, and he was a lot closer that time to Verstappen. But yeah, the Ferrari just isn't quick enough down the straights. I think Ferrari, like I said, it is reported that they have the most powerful of power units, but the problem is they have their car set up in a way that's a lot draggier and focused more on downforce. Using Monster Man says, what the fuck happened with Alonso pit strategy in that race? Yeah, not great, but sadly, it wasn't actually the majority of the problem. It was down to his engine problem. Aline says, hi Efron. Hello to you. Sadly, though, I'm going to be coming to the end of this stream in a moment, so yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, I think at this point, I will call it a day. But before I do that, let's get back into the championship standings. So, coming away from this Grand Prix, Max Verstappen wins the Grand Prix from Sergio Perez second, Charles Leclerc third, and then, wait, hold on, what was I saying? Did I just say Verstappen won from Perez, Leclerc, Russell? Let me do that again, because I think I've just completely confused myself. So Verstappen is leading the championship by 46 points from Sergio Perez second. Charles Leclerc is 49 points behind in third. And yeah, for me, championship is over. Russell is fourth still, only 15 points behind Leclerc, only 18 behind Perez, and second place in the championship. Shows you how great he has been this season. And if Mercedes had a race-winning car at every Grand Prix this year, then I think Russell would probably be very close to Verstappen, if not leading the championship. Carlos Sainz is fifth, and then it's Hamilton sixth, Norris seventh, Bottas eighth, Ocon ninth, and Fernando Alonso finally, and it's great to see, is despite his ninth place finish, is now into 10th in the championship. And in the constructors, Red Bull are leading by, I think, 76 points, I think it is, something like that. And then, yeah, Ferrari is second, Mercedes third, McLaren fourth, Alpine had obviously points took away for Alonso, but they are still only 8 points behind McLaren in the championship. And for Alfa Romeo, obviously 7th and 8th in the Grand Prix, that's 10 points, and now they are not too far behind Alpine and McLaren. So great result for Alfa Romeo, who pull away massively from AlphaTauri behind in 7th. Aston Martin are now up to 8th, a point ahead of Haas in 9th, and Williams are in 10th. So that is your championship standings. And yeah, that is the end of the stream. Just want to say though, don't go quite yet, guys, because I just want to get into again my plan for content. So the main topic of this video, or this stream, sorry, has been recorded and it will be uploaded tomorrow at 5 p.m. UK time as a... Wait, 5 p.m.? Maybe not 5 p.m., maybe 6 p.m. actually UK time. I'll upload the recorded video for that I did a part of this stream. So that'll be out tomorrow, and then my next live stream after that will not be until Thursday the 30th of June, which is obviously the final day of this month. So yeah, there's going to be quite a break until the next content on the channel after tonight in terms of streaming. But obviously, next month in July, there's 5 weekends. 4 of them, there will be an F1 race. So there is plenty of content next month coming your way on the channel. And yeah, also for the British Grand Prix, I announced last night that obviously I'm going to stop doing Practice 1 and Practice 2 watch-alongs, unfortunately, because, like I said last night, the majority of my viewers are not available at that time to, or the times for European races where Practice 1 and Practice 2 is taking place, because they're at work or school, college, whatever you want to call it, or even asleep. In certain parts of the world where, the majority of my viewer base comes from. So Practice 1 and Practice 2 streams will return later in the season, but yeah, from the British Grand Prix on until probably October, there will not be any Practice 1 and Practice 2 watch-alongs, but there is still going to be content on a Friday, because at Silverstone, there will be a qualifying preview stream, probably at 6 p.m. UK time on Friday, the 1st of July. And then on Saturday, obviously, it'll be Practice 3 watch-along and qualifying watch-along, and then race preview, race watch-along, and race reaction on the Sunday. And then I think for the day after review, that's also something I'm going to probably cut back on a bit over the next, say, month or so. Because there are so many races coming up, I don't want to overdo it, and, by the time we get to the summer break, I don't want to be exhausted and, happy to have a break from it all. I want to still be motivated, obviously, and in decent condition mentally to keep going. So, yeah, there will be a cutback on certain bits of content, but there is still going to be plenty of stuff. Don't worry about that. And also, at the next Grand Prix, there is a good chance I'm going to try a new system where... say for Sunday, instead of doing a race preview and then doing a separate stream for the race watch-along and then a separate one for the race reaction, what I'm going to probably preview, or not preview, what am I on about? What I'm going to trial is doing it all in one and just renaming the stream as the, as the day goes on. So yeah, I will announce that obviously on Thursday, the 30th of June, obviously the Thursday of the British Grand Prix weekend. I will announce what my full schedule is for the British Grand Prix. So, yeah, on that day, obviously, I'll be streaming again for the British Grand Prix preview, and you will know what my final confirmed schedule is for that weekend. But hopefully you guys have a good week and a half's break for Formula 1. And yeah, hopefully you'll be back on the channel here for, obviously, the British Grand Prix. And I'm expecting a pretty good British Grand Prix, and hopefully Mercedes will be back at that Grand Prix. We're definitely expecting them to be a lot more competitive than they were in the last couple of weekends in Formula 1 in 2022. But yeah, hopefully you can join me for that. Also, big thank you for joining me this weekend for all the streams. It's been absolutely fantastic. And yeah, also, what's it? The F1 game comes out, I think, on Friday practice day at Silverstone. But I think the deluxe edition, not edition, or special edition, whatever it's called, comes out on the 28th of June, which I'm probably going to get. So, yeah, thankfully, that's coming out soon because I've bought a racing wheel and I did use it on F1 2021, but stopped using it because I was busy doing other things, and then I decided I might as well wait till the new game comes out. So I am keen for that game to come out, and maybe, I'll show some footage of that on stream sometime, but of, me doing races, maybe even league races on the wheel on the F1 game. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the next week and a half's break until the next Grand Prix. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, because we do plenty of race weekend content for Formula 1, obviously. And yeah, we will be doing so for the British Grand Prix. And don't forget, for everyone watching, to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. And as well, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5. And as well, don't forget to join my Discord server. Links are below in the description. But until that stream clip that I did earlier comes out tomorrow, and until my next stream, again on the final day of June, the 30th of the month, this month, until the British Grand Prix preview and British Grand Prix weekend, guys, it has been me, Chazzer HD. Goodbye.